Summer, the garden. Chapter 1. It became obvious to Mandy after a while that Sue definitely had the sulks. She knew the cause of the trouble. She and Sue were usually very close, but since the discovery of the cottage, Mandy had seen less and less of her friend, and at times had been quite rude about wanting to be alone. It was a bad situation. One evening, Sue said bitterly, "You're always going out by yourself. We never do anything together anymore." Mandy tried to placate her, but Sue mumbled, "I just know you're up to something. I'll find out one day. You'll see." The trouble was that Mandy began to feel very impatient. At first, she tried to tolerate the other girl's mood, but as time went by, she felt herself getting angry, and that didn't help matters at all. One day, things really came to a head. Mandy had planned to spend a quiet hour at the cottage. Her plants were budding now and showing spots of color. With summer approaching, there was always something new in the garden or the clearing. Mandy thought she had been unobserved as she climbed the wall, but just as she came down from the apple tree, she heard a scuffling noise from the other side. Before she could hide, to her absolute horror, Sue appeared at the top of the wall and gazed down at her. "Hello, what are you doing?" she asked. Sue was smiling triumphantly, and Mandy knew that she had been deliberately following her. She felt sick with anger, and it was with a great effort that she managed to keep her voice light. "Oh, nothing. I'm just looking around." She wasn't going to give Sue the satisfaction of seeing that she was in any way disturbed by her presence. If she could just act as though nothing bothered her, then maybe Sue would get bored and leave her alone. "You're not supposed to be over there." "I know," said Mandy, "but you do things you're not supposed to do sometimes. I'll come back over, though." She started to climb the tree, but Sue said, "No, I'll come down too. It'll be fun." "But you're not supposed to. You just said." Mandy had an edge to her voice. "We'll get into awful trouble." She tried to sound concerned, and indeed she was concerned, but for a different reason. If Sue came into the woods, she didn't know how she could stop her from exploring and discovering the cottage too. "Oh, phooey," Sue was saying, "it'll be an adventure." She climbed down the apple tree. "Hey, isn't it super over here?" Mandy wanted to hit out and push Sue away. Never had she felt so angry. She considered climbing back over the wall to the orphanage and just leaving Sue alone. Maybe without her, Sue would give up any ideas she had of looking around. But what if she went off by herself and discovered the cottage anyway? It was better to stay and try to avert disaster. "Let's explore," said Sue. "No," Mandy said in a loud voice, "it might be dangerous." "Well, I'm going to anyway," Sue started out. "All right," Mandy pretended to give in. "But I'm going this way," she said firmly, and turned to the left onto a small track instead of following the bigger path to the cottage. It was the only thing she could think of to do. Sue stopped. "Why?" she asked. "I don't know. It looks more exciting, and there could be people on the main path. This way we won't be discovered." Mandy walked on, praying that Sue would follow her. After a moment's hesitation, the other girl ran to catch up with her. Mandy found herself trembling with relief. She strode out briskly, tight-lipped and furious. She wanted to get as far away from the cottage as possible. The track kept parallel with the big wall. Both girls were silent as they walked. Mandy knew that Sue sensed her mood. The other girl was sullen and had an almost defiant air. There was not much to say. "Must you walk so fast?" "I'm sorry, you wanted to explore," Mandy replied. But she slowed down a little. Somehow she would have to check her anger. She didn't dare antagonize Sue too much. The wood became less dense. It was obvious that the narrow path was getting wider. A few hundred yards further on, it was joined by two other paths coming in at right angles to theirs. The really interesting fact was that all the paths led to a large wrought iron gate which was set into the wall. Mandy was immediately interested. She wandered over to look at it and noted that the main road passed by just a few yards beyond. She saw a padlock on the gate, and then her heart missed a beat. It wasn't locked. Sue, come and look at this. Mandy pushed the gate tentatively. It didn't move. She applied her weight to it, and it slowly swung wide. Golly! Sue was almost as interested as Mandy. Be careful, Mandy. Don't go out until you're sure no one can see us. The girls peeked out. Not a soul was around. They emerged and carefully swung the gate to a close behind them. But this is the road that leads back to the orphanage, Sue seemed surprised. I know, said Mandy. She was delightedly aware of the fact. If the gate could remain unlocked, and she could see no reason why it couldn't, then this was exactly the new way to the cottage she had been hoping for. This would mean no more sneaking into the orchard when people weren't looking, no more fear of discovery. Now she could really leave the orphanage in full view of everyone, as though she indeed were going off on some errand. She could then sneak through the gate and double back to the cottage. Mandy smiled. Things were going to be much easier from now on. I wonder where those other paths lead to, Sue was saying. Oh, Mandy, let's go there again one day and explore. It was fun. Perhaps, Mandy said. It was too late now to get to the cottage, and since she felt almost thankful to Sue for having unwittingly helped her, she linked arms with her friend, and they spent the rest of the day together. For the first time in ages, they enjoyed themselves, and the hostility of the recent past faded away, for the time being at least.